Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles. I am Ross Bolin, joined today as always by my buddy Mr. Barrett Dudley to bring you the best TV shows and movies weekly in an easily digestible podcast packed with laughs. Barrett, another week, another pod. How's it hanging?
Oh, you know, I just got cups of the rosé, bitches in my old phone.
Are you doing Marvin's Room right now?
That is a little tease for a piece of my tidbits and such today.
I don't even know what that could possibly
lend
itself to.
It's a big one, but yeah, man, it's great. You just presented me with this Baby Yoda beer me you will koozie here that we got from a listener and member of the Clam Fam and Mollusk Militia who wrote a wonderful note to us.
Throw out her first name.
That this is from Autumn. So Autumn, we received your letter and your gifts of
we don't know when it showed up.
Beautiful Baby Yoda koozies, and we couldn't be more thrilled and more appreciative to have received this. So thank you. So
and if she's sitting there like, damn, I mailed those in February. They showed up to like the larger building in which our Permanent Record Studios is located.
Right.
They were just given this piece of mail, so we don't know when you sent this, Autumn. But we're very appreciative. These are phenomenal koozies.
Hopefully she didn't, just say, well, you didn't get it. You've not said thank you.
Unsubscribe. It's just like, fuck these two guys. these thankless dicks.
Yeah. No, I doubt it though. So thank you, Autumn. We love them.
And if you're thinking like right now, like Ross doesn't even drink, she put in the note for my Sprite too.
Yeah, she knows you really well.
It's appreciative.
Yeah,
I'm appreciative. So thank you again.
Yes. Yeah. But just slow, loud, and banging.
All in your trunk. All in your trunk. We're starting out today's show with everyone's favorite segment, Tidbits and Such with Barrett, before going after some Penultimate, Perry Mason, Chapter 7.
It was the Penultimate.
Indeed it was.
You're correct there, sir.
Indeed it was. And then, Clam Fam, we're doing Denzel Washington's top 5 movies. But first, today's episode of OCC is brought to you by Leesa, makers of the greatest mattresses in the world. I always argue your mattress is up there with your living room TV in terms of important purchases you make for your home. So you have to ask yourself, is your mattress kind of shitty? Do you even remember where it came from? Do you wake up every morning feeling like you won the lottery because your mattress is so damn comfortable? I do. On my Leesa Legend. And for years before that, I slept on the Hybrid, which has now been moved into my guest room. The Hybrid by Leesa, also phenomenal. Everything Leesa makes is the most comfortable thing I have ever slept on, touched, felt, or looked at. They know how important rest is to a better life. Leesa is the foundation of a healthier, happier you. And to Leesa, a bed is more than just a place to sleep. It's a place for relaxation and rest. All of their products have been thoughtfully designed to go beyond creating a comfortable bed to transform your bedroom into a place you actually want to spend time in. Their most advanced Leesa Legend is incredible. The luxury Hybrid is incredible as well. Again, I made the switch to the Legend. Barrett, you're a Hybrid boy still.
I'm a Hybrid boy still, yeah.
You love it, though.
You
love it. Oh, yeah. Leesa believes all people should have access to deep rest and relaxation, and as such, they make it easy for their customers to know they've made the right choice through their social impact initiatives tied to each purchase. Leesa donates 1 mattress for every 10 they sell through organizations that work in causes like foster care prevention, to date having donated more than 33,000 mattresses and counting through more than 1,000 nonprofits. Leesa mattresses are made in the USA. In-home delivery and setup is available. Financing is also available. Don't miss out, Clam Fam. Live healthier, live happier by resting deeper. Order today and get 15% off any mattress for a limited time at leesa.com/dragon. Use the promo code DRAGON. That's LEESA.com/dragon. Promo code DRAGON. And now, it is time for Tidbits and Such.
Okay.
With Barrett.
Let's jump off here on the tidbits. So I won't keep you in suspense any longer here. We'll just jump right in.
Sure.
The name of the song that I was singing. Do you know what it's called, Ross?
Marvin's Room.
Okay.
Only because I listened to it so many times in college as I cried alone.
Now,
in the dark.
We never get the moment Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen meme when he says Marvin's Room in the song. There's never that Marvin's Room.
Right.
He said it.
You crushed the whistle just now. That was exactly it. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. So
I never knew why it was named that.
Yeah. So do you now?
No, only because I Googled it at some point down the line.
Well, okay, so we can talk to each other here because I never Googled it. I was just knocking around on HBO Max the other day, and
you saw Marvin's Room.
Came across a movie called Marvin's Room, which stars Meryl Streep, Diane Keaton, and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
And he's not even on the movie poster, but it stars Robert De Niro as well.
How is it that De Niro's in this and he's not in the poster with these three?
I don't know.
I haven't watched this film. I was only aware of its existence, and it made me laugh because it's just so Drake to take the saddest, softest R&B song possible, and then he's named it Marvin's Room, which is a movie starring Meryl Streep, Leonardo DiCaprio, Diane Keaton, Robert De Niro. That's just funny.
But what? But it doesn't. Okay, so first of all, I just had no idea that this movie existed. This is right before. This is Leo. He's riding the roller coaster up to the very tippy top,
working his way still.
Of Titanic, right?
Yeah.
I think he'd done Gilbert Grape at this point. What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
That just made me think of on Titanic when they all fight their way to the tippy top when it's tipped over and then they're all falling and dying.
Yeah, it's tough scene there.
Tough looks. Yeah. Not what you want at all.
That was on TV the other day, and I watched it. And I was like, God damn. I was like 8 years old in the movie. Or no, I was more like 11. But just
the one
watching
guy,
people get flung off the ship, man.
One guy that drops and he literally hits midway up his body on the table and then continues to flip and flail. And you're like, you're like, well, he's dead.
So I just was surprised that this movie was not on my radar or in my brain at all.
Your lexicon, movie lexicon.
Diane Keaton was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for this film. It was nominated for several Screen Actors Guild Awards. Meryl Streep was nominated for a Golden Globe for the film.
There's a good Rotten Tomatoes rating.
Right. So by all accounts, this is a relatively well thought of movie from the mid-90s. Starring a bunch of huge names, including young Leonardo DiCaprio and younger Meryl Streep, and it is also the name of a very popular and famous Drake song. And I just it exploded my head a little bit.
Do you want to know what'll make you? I mean, here's the thing. So when I originally looked into this, when at some point I became aware that this song that I in secret have listened to thousands of times, probably hundreds of times. Hundreds of times. When Marvin's Room dropped, dude, I was all in that vibe. Just sad college Ross was like, bring me the fucking Drake sadness, just pour it down my throat. So when I found out that it was actually named after a film and Googled it or whatever, what makes it even more outrageous is the plot of the film.
Yeah,
synopsis.
It doesn't connect with the song.
No, the song is about a dude being heartbroken, basically, and just sad about women, which is just Drake's whole career, really. The plot of this film is a man who had a stroke 20 years ago, played by Hume Cronin. Who the fuck is that?
R.I.P. Hume.
Hume is left incapacitated and bedridden. He has been cared for by his daughter, Bessie, Diane Keaton, in their Florida home, and totally ignored by his other daughter, Lee, Meryl Streep, who moved to Ohio with her husband 20 years ago and has never contacted her family. Now, however, Bessie's doctor has informed her that she has leukemia and needs a bone marrow transplant, and she turns to her sister for help. Lee, in turn, turns to her son Hank, Leo, who has been committed to a mental institution for setting fire to his mother's house.
Yeah.
But, Barrett, he has unfortunately been sedated. When Lee finds that she may have to take over her father's care, she at first begins shopping around for nursing homes. Eventually, however, the estranged family grows close. As Bessie progressively seems to get worse, Lee comes to terms that it is now her turn to take care of her family. The film closes on Lee familiarizing herself with her father's medication as she walks into his room with his lunch, overlooking Bessie flashing the mirror that makes Marvin smile. What the hell does that have to do with Drake?
I can't say. God, Marvin's Room, 2011, almost 10 years old. That's wild, too.
The song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That makes me feel old.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If I was the most successful, popular rapper, hip-hop artist in the world, whatever, which Drake has probably been monetarily and just hits-wise.
Yeah. He's a hit machine, Ross.
Yes.
Drake is a hit machine, and I won't hear anything else on the matter.
I won't either. I don't think you can. It's not a disputable thing. That's like a fact.
All right.
But if I was him, I guess at some point maybe I'd just start picking some of my favorite movies from my childhood or some shit. What's weird is Drake is about our age.
Right.
Why the hell was he even familiar with Marvin's Room? Much less was he so impacted by it. And we just read the premise for you there. Mm-hmm. Probably one of the more depressing synopsis of a film I've ever read. Why was he so impacted by it that he then chose to name that song after it? Like, there's just so many questions.
Yeah,
and such.
I know. So yeah. Anyways, here's my final thought on this. I fully expect a member of the Clam fam to call in and explain exactly why this song is called Marvin's Room to us on the next Smallest Militia hotline call in a few weeks here at the end of August.
It's been argued by Billboard that Marvin's Room was one of the songs that defined that decade. I guess the one we just exited.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking up. The title is a reference to Marvin Gaye's studio, popularly known as Marvin's Room, where Drizzy recorded the track.
Okay, all
right.
Thank
you, Genius.com.
Right.
Wow. In the song, a drunk Drake calls up an old flame and vents his feelings of loneliness, reminiscing on the times they had and trying to get her to leave the new man.
All right. Well, now it's all explained. The movie and the song, no connection whatsoever.
What an utter and total waste of our time. Thank God we're a movie podcast and we got to all learn about Marvin's. Look, then this is the point. He should have known there was going to be a lot of confusion around this. How the fuck?
No, because he clearly did not know that this was a movie. Because nobody knew this was a movie.
And he just knew Marvin Gaye's studio where he recorded it was called Marvin's Room, so he named it that. And then there's a movie called Marvin's Room that stars Leo, Meryl Streep.
Yes.
Okay. Well.
All right. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, I guess.
From the Marvin's Room.
We can talk about this the rest of the show.
Controversy.
We could go through the lyrics and break it down. I'm just saying. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. All right. Wow. Speaking of wow.
Wow.
Do you know who directed the movie You, Me, and Dupree starring Owen Wilson?
No, I do not.
Okay. It's a couple of guys called the Russo brothers.
Okay.
Anthony Russo and Joseph Russo. Now, in modern 2020 culture, these guys are legends in their own right because they have directed 4 of the most popular and most well-reviewed Avengers films. They directed Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Captain America: Civil War, and then Avengers: Infinity War and Avengers: Endgame.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So they directed all 4 of those films. Now.
Must be nice.
You get in a little bit deeper to their filmography. In between You, Me, and Dupree and Captain America: The Winter Soldier, that was 2006 to 2014, they didn't direct a single film. So they went from like a B- slapstick comedy film featuring Kate Hudson, Owen Wilson, and Matt Dillon, I believe, if I'm correct, to steering the ship on 4 of the biggest movies in cinema history. So that's
how the frick did that happen?
That's one interesting thing for you to know about the Russo brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're doing these big action films. I just told you about You, Me, and Dupree. You will also be interested to find out that these guys are big-time producers and directors on some of your favorite comedies. So on television, they executive produced and directed numerous episodes of Community, and they directed episodes of Arrested Development, and they directed and produced Happy Endings, and a show that I've mentioned briefly, at least on Patreon. They directed some of the episodes of Up All Night, the 2011 film, the 2011 series that starred Will Arnett and Christina Applegate, which was one of the shows that I really liked that ended far too soon for me.
Got you.
You know, it was one that I would have kept on the air a bit longer. So these guys, very talented, clearly, really know how to pick them. They are now at the helm of a $200 million Netflix movie starring Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, and it is going to be a spy thriller. Now, the reason I bring all this up is because we also recently had a question on Patreon around, we were kind of doing a little interview style on the Patreon
Right.
What is like an immediate sell for you? Right? It was like, what type of stuff, what type of genre, what type of actors, what do you need to like automatically be like, yep, I'm there.
Sure.
So I was already in with spy movie featuring Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. And now I know more about the Russo brothers who are at the helm. And like, this is just straight catnip for me, basically. Like, this sounds just incredible.
Which one is it? What's the name of it?
I don't think it has a name.
There's okay. So here's
It's called The Gray Man.
Okay, here it is, The Gray Man. I'm on Anthony Russo's because you can't get onto both of them at the same time unless I'm mistaken. Anthony Russo's IMDb right now.
Yeah, so I just went. If you go to if Russo Brothers Wikipedia has the stuff that kind of combines them.
The frickin' like, you know how it has the list of everything they've done and then it has the list of things that are announced and in pre-production?
Right.
They are in pre or post or announced stage on like 9 projects.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that these guys would be in very, very high demand.
A lot of executive producing going on there.
Yes.
A lot of producing going on there.
Indeed.
Wow.
But yeah, man, this is I love spy shit. Obviously, I'm all in for a good spy thriller.
Mm-hmm.
And big Ryan Gosling fan. $200 million, straight to Netflix, directed by the Russo brothers. Like, this is just, man.
I'm going to read you a couple of these other ones.
This better not suck.
One of the other things in post-production is called Cherry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's starring Tom Holland and Thomas Lennon and Kelly Berglund, and it's the Russo brothers, and it's an army medic suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder becomes a serial bank robber after an addiction to drugs puts him in debt.
Yep. In.
I'm in. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
The Gray Man says in Europe, a CIA operative turned assassin. Why is everybody turned? I love these. These guys rule. A CIA operative turned assassin looks to evade mysterious forces as he tries to save the lives of the daughters who don't know he exists. Okay. And then, of course, Citadel. It just says, plot kept under wraps, described as action-packed spy series. That's a TV series they're working on directing.
Yeah.
Citadel. TV miniseries.
Okay.
Do these dudes just call up IMDb and they're like, look, here's what we've got going?
Their agents do.
Update our page.
Yeah, their agents do.
That's tight.
For sure. Yeah. So, now you know a little bit more about the Russo brothers.
Thank you very much. A lot of slap and tickle on their IMDb page.
Who went from Arrested Development and Community to directing massive, major motion pictures.
If anybody in the Clam Fam has information on how that came to pass.
These guys, they're just ballers, man. That's it.
Yeah,
they're
dude,
good at what they do.
Yeah, but how do you go from Arrested Development to sitting in that room?
How did they get the opportunity to direct Winter Soldier? Yeah, I don't know.
Like, how do you go from the Arrested Development room? Like, it almost makes me think Ron Howard, it has to be the connection to someone, to something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because he's like a Hollywood power player.
Right,
and he's
right,
like,
maybe so.
These Russo brothers are interested in doing some stuff, and you can get them on the cheap for this first movie. And then they crush that one, and then they're giving the other ones, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
Hollywood's crazy. You know what they say, Barrett, that it's Holly weird out there.
Holly weird. Yes, indeed. Okay, speaking of Holly weird, last tidbit here. I just wanted to somebody tweeted at us and a listener tweeted at us talking about how Dave was left out of the Emmy nominations. And,
shit, I didn't even notice that.
And I started that piqued my curiosity, and I started looking through the Emmy nominations, and I started figuring out what was the cutoff for things to have been released in the for Emmy consideration. And as it turns out, a lot of my favorite stuff over the first half of the year, which was featured on FX on Hulu or just on Hulu, I'm talking High Fidelity, I'm talking Dave, I'm talking Debs, I'm talking The Great, obviously. All of this stuff made the cutoff to be considered for Emmys. So what happens here is that these networks, they usually have they've picked a horse already, and there's an entire season. It's called FYC, for your consideration, where everybody is throwing around their marketing budget weight behind these horses that they are hoping to get nominated
for award season.
Okay, and it matters. So if you're pushing all the money in behind Handmaid's Tale for big LA billboards everywhere for FYC, And then you're pushing your stuff where you spent a lot of money on movie stars, like the miniseries Little Fires Everywhere, where you got Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon, or Mrs. America, where you have Cate Blanchett and Rose Byrne and a couple other like big names.
Right.
That's it. So I was just going to say that it feels to me like they very clearly like threw all the money at pushing those. And because of that, there wasn't as much attention on their other stuff, like The Great, like Dave, like High Fidelity.
This is why people argue that awards season is
kind of
so political.
Yeah,
because
yes.
here's the thing, Barrett. When you think about it, if they let's say they go with The Great, let's say they go with Dave, then these A-listers that they've enlisted to be on these other programs are like, hey,
Right.
what the shit? Never working with Hulu on FX ever again. You know what I'm saying? But that's unfortunate because I have a really hard time imagining that everything nominated is better than The Great, better than Dave, better than High Fidelity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, I suppose, but it seems you should go with your best shit, not with your most like A-list. We need to throw money behind this. But this has always been the problem.
Yeah, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And this clearly felt like a year where, and you know, like maybe it's a thing where they didn't realize quite what they had with The Great. Maybe they didn't realize how good that actually was.
Same with Dave. You could probably say that could have been the case.
It has been. It did get The Great was nominated just for none of the major awards. It was nominated for Outstanding Directing and Outstanding Writing.
So they gave him a little something.
And once again, this is an interesting thing where The Great is under comedy series, even though it's pretty dramatic and it's an hour-long show.
It is very funny at times.
So it's hysterical. Yeah. So I don't hate that it's under comedy series, but it's just
weird.
That's another thing where it's like, what is it really? What category should it be in?
Like a period piece with a bunch of drama and some laughs.
Shouldn't this just really boil down to, at this point, to like 30 and 60-minute shows? Devs, I think, was nominated for maybe some visual or effects type nominations.
Sure, that makes sense.
And then the thing with Dave is you got it. As Dave resonated big time with us, obviously.
Very much aimed right at our heads.
And it's aimed right at us. But it's a niche comedy.
Yeah.
And surface level, it's very crude. It can be very crude.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just like I imagine that a large portion of the voting body like gets the screeners for Dave. Watches the first 2 episodes or first 3 episodes where there is a gross rubber floppy sex doll and a scene that involves something called milking.
A milking table.
And are like, yeah, no.
Nah, this isn't it.
Like that's, and they're out on that because it's so highly specific and niche, and you have to.
Yeah, you
got to know who Lil Dicky is, and then you also have to make it into the back half of the season before it really gets going on like all of its kind of bigger message
social
type
points
stuff.
and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining a room filled with old white people.
Right. There's a lot of those, and
running Hulu, and they're like, "Well, this is disturbing."
So it's not Dave. It's more of a shocker to me that The Great wasn't. Didn't get more nominations than it is that Dave lacks some of the nominations.
I'm totally with you there. That's completely fair.
So, yeah.
Especially because Dave was aimed right at us, and because I could see the people who vote on this type of thing being like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
What's the deal here?
I mean, here's how far you have to look to know. We mentioned the Emmy nominations last week. Stranger Things and The Morning Show are both nominated for Outstanding Drama. That's political. That's money. That's Netflix throwing marketing behind Stranger Things. That is
and
Apple, like,
that's bullshit.
Throwing a duffel bag down on the table and being like, "We won an award."
Yeah, because here's the thing:
we better get nominated for an award.
We all know
we spent $150 million on this first season. We better get a fucking award.
Yeah, what's another $3 million to get our name on this list?
But
there's no way. This is the thing that makes these award shows frustrating and not matter, because there's no way that anybody with like a sound, critical mind would watch those shows, watch The Great, and go, "Oh, these are much better."
Yeah, right, exactly.
No,
yeah.
The Great shits all over those shows.
Yes.
Huzzah!
Indeed.
Any other tidbits and such?
That wraps up my tidbits and such.
God, that was good stuff. Good stuff. Remember when we talked about Marvin's Room, the movie, for 5 minutes?
It might have been 10.
Look, I think it was worth it.
Yeah.
And that I'll say that was on both of us. I'll take at least half of the blame there. Let's move into Penultimate, Perry Mason.
Okay.
Chapter 7. All right? A lot happening here, Barrett. We open with Sister Alice and her mother broken down on the side of the road. Some nice Christian man stops to help them they've run out of gas. They're not broken down, which, again, just a bad mom. I've run out of gas one time in my life, Barrett. One time. And I am a moron behind the wheel. The fact that I've only done it once and that her mother did it, and then it resulted in what was essentially...
Now, 1918 or 1920,
sure.
whatever,
the
far
gauge
fewer
was
gas
off.
stations.
Far fewer gas stations, and, who could trust the E and the F on those fuckers?
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough. But then, riddle me this. What the hell happened here? Sister Alice is a small girl. Let's say she's, 14. Standing in a field, seems to be having some type of premonition or spiritual experience out there,
Yep.
so that makes her on the wavelength with God from a young age, is what they're trying to paint as this picture of. Her mother is helped out by this seemingly very nice, normal family man, it seems, who then, after giving them some gas, and then she's like, well, fuck, where's the next station? And he's like, well, there really isn't one that close. You could roll the dice and try out whatever, Trenton, New Jersey, whatever he says. And she's like, well, we don't want to do that. We need more help. And he's like, well, that first bit of help there, that was free. But this next bit of help, I want to fuck your underage daughter.
Yeah.
Things escalated so quickly from like, I'm a good guy and here's my gas can, to like, what about your girl in the field out there?
Now, you riddle me this, though, or don't riddle it to me. You can tell it to me straight. You knew that this guy was up to no good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Absolutely. Well, because we were watching Perry Mason.
Yeah.
And Penultimate Perry Mason.
Penultimate Perry
It
Mason.
wasn't going to be like,
okay,
here's the
I'm
gas
just making
can.
sure that you weren't like, oh, thank God this nice gentleman is here to help them out in the middle of nowhere on the side of the road, and I'm watching this series on HBO, and everything's going to be totally fine with this little girl out there in the field. And her mom, who she has a really complicated relationship with.
Yes, we all knew something bad was coming. It would have been so silly if they had like poured the gas in and been like, thanks
you,
again,
sir.
stranger. And then the Perry Mason title screen came up and that was the rest of the episode started rolling. That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
But still, like, all right, we knew these people were jacked up. We've known that Sister Alice and her mother have a very strange relationship just based on the conversations we get with them. But now we're starting to get a backlog of just how insane these two people in their lives have been and how long Sister Alice has been enduring what amounts to abuse.
Yeah. I mean, I think through the first 6 episodes, we clearly knew that it was a rough road for them to get where they were now.
Right.
There were references to like the traveling tent type show.
The hustle. They hustled their way up.
Right. They were hustlers. Absolutely.
To the top of this church.
Here we see that they, were put in some really bad situations that mom clearly did not make good decisions about.
No. She didn't attempt to offer herself up here at the very least, which even that would be patently insane, but like it just she folds immediately. And you almost get the impression this is not the first time.
Right. Oh, yeah.
That this has happened many times before, that she has used her daughter as a sexual tool as a means to get things. So we start out there, and then things get a lot sunnier. No, the whole episode is just a brutal beating. I mean, literally at one point at the end there, Perry is beaten so... This whole episode, he's getting his ass beat, dude, by like, when they're at the field... Okay, we'll just go step by step here, because it's too much. I can't jump around. From there, we get back into, like, how are they going to win this case? How are they going to, flip this jury that has clearly, from the first couple episodes of trial, is clearly going to be leaning toward prosecute, or what is it called?
Conviction.
Convicting this woman, Emily Dodson, of the murder of her child. By the end of the episode, we, for the first time, have a full picture of what exactly occurred here.
Yes.
And it is a result of debt by the church in the amount of $100,000. Mm-hmm. They basically tried to pull off a scam where it was planned that the little boy, what's the name of the child who is now passed? Emily Dodson's son. Charlie Dodson.
Charlie.
He was going to be taken to another place, right? Held there, fed by a nursemaid, essentially, and then eventually returned to his family, I think was the goal.
Yes, they were going to ransom him, return him to his family. And the connection here is we got Seidel, the head of the church's accounts, basically.
Right.
And George Gannon, who is an accountant working under Seidel.
Who replaced the former accountant who gives Perry the information in the last episode we got.
That's correct. And so George Gannon obviously has the relationship with Emily Dodson. And then they get the police involved too because of one of the connections from Denver, where it's like I think Seidel and Ennis or Pollock, the two Pollocks.
Those three dudes knew each other.
Yeah, the three dudes knew each other. So that's the team here is Ennis the cop, the two Polish guys, and Seidel and Gannon from the church.
Now, so does Emily Dodson's, I guess, husband still, the father of him, the rich guy, is he completely in the dark here?
Herman Baggerly.
Yes.
The dad of Emily Dodson's now estranged husband,
who was also estranged from his father. They didn't
was completely in the dark about the kidnapping. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was Emily completely in the dark about the kidnapping?
Yes.
Okay. So what we find out is that this milkmaid, Ennis clearly probably is the guy who came up with this side of the scheme, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
And all these prostitutes know him, and he's got them all junked up. He brought one of them with him to sew the eyes of the baby. I'm not clear on why that part needed to be done yet. I guess to make it look even creepier and more occult and just disturbing and confusing, perhaps.
No. Wait, why do you think he brought one of them to sew the eyes?
Because Perry ends up Perry goes to the whorehouse to find people who have interacted with Ennis, right?
Yeah, and the one he's looking for is the milker,
who's dead. Because as the girl tells Perry, Ennis came and got her like a couple weeks ago. She came back pumped full of heroin.
Right. And she was obviously a heroin addict. Almost all the girls in there are.
Right.
And that's how the baby died.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because the milkmaid was addicted to heroin.
Right.
And as Perry asks the coroner what would happen to an infant nursing from a mother who was addicted to smack, he says he would suffocate.
Right.
We've already gotten that part.
So the sewn open eyes was for the benefit of them looking out at the train. It was to make the baby look like it was alive.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, it got really dark.
Yeah. It was to try to get the deal to go through and get the money.
Bro.
Because the baby was already dead.
Bro.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. But so I don't know. I don't think we are totally. Did you think there was an implication of who sewed the eyes?
That's why he went. Yeah. The implication for me was that he brought that Asian woman to sew the eyes for him because that was like some. I don't know. Whatever the point being, that woman went with him to try and fix this.
Oh, I thought I took away that she went with him to milk the baby.
No, I think the baby was in the whorehouse being milked there and was going to be kept there in secret.
No, the baby was at the hotel, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was just taken to feed the baby,
to
feed Charlie. And then the eyes thing on the side has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter who sewed the eyes open. The point is that they were trying to make the baby look alive so they could still get the deal to go through, get the $100,000.
Yes.
And at least that part would have been cleaned up.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No.
Obviously. Charlie ends up dead. Ennis has to take out the milkmaid. He does that, which eventually leads to Perry doing forcing the coroner to do yet another sort of autopsy, not an autopsy, but take out the body and explain to him, and they have the conversation. They piece it all together. And also, Ennis has to murder the shit out of what's this? Seidel? Who's been on the run, who Perry's boy from Boardwalk Empire failed to keep tabs on.
That was many, many stab wounds, Ross. That was a lot of stabs.
So I'm sitting in bed last night, and I'm eating a bowl of Cheerios, okay? Like, I'm a little high, just ready for night, ready for sleeps. I was 50 stab? Why did he have to stab him so many times? Ennis is a psycho, is the point.
Yeah.
But, like to the point where he was like, I guess I'll keep going until this is a workout, and I'm exhausted enough.
Yeah, it was very intense.
Jeez Louise.
Also, I was on pins and needles the entire time that our man Pete Strickland was chasing after Seidel through the crowd, I thought for sure Ennis was just going to be like, there, and he was going to get shanked.
Because we've been thinking Pete's screwed.
Yeah, I thought for sure Pete was screwed. I thought for sure Pete was getting shanked in the crowd. So that had me right up on edge.
Then, okay, so first let's talk about Strickland, because he bows out. He basically tells Perry, I'm done. This was the last time you're shoveling your shit in my mouth. Mm-hmm. Peace, deuces. Do you think he comes back, or was that legit an exit for him? Because that's a weird, pretty much, because Strickland on the way out is like, you should go get that cop, Drake. And then 5 minutes later, Drake is like, hi, you didn't even have to come get me. I have your next break in the case.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. I can't quite tell.
I can't tell either, but it'd be a weird exit, is all I'm saying.
I think he still is in the crosshairs.
Yeah, he has to die.
I think he's going to die. And I think he's going to come back. They had this, they have this big fallout. He's going to somehow
come to his senses or find something accidentally.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe, I don't know how many, PIs Perry needs in future seasons. It's a little weird to get Shea Wiggum for only one season, right?
Yes, but the way it's unfolded, it feels like, yeah, man, I don't know. That's the thing.
That's the other thing.
Because you kind of predicted, like, okay, Officer Drake is clearly probably going to be the guy who's, and based on some of the Perry Mason TV stuff, you were like, this is the guy who's going to be sort of his sidekick moving forward.
Right.
Where does that leave Strickland? And that's why we were like, well, he's a dead man. But it's almost too obvious now. Like, it's like, well, okay, so they had a falling out. Drake immediately comes in and replaces him. And then it's like, now we're just going to watch Pete die in the final episode, and that'll be that. And based on who the actor is, I'm struggling with it, too. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Jury's still out.
Not sure. Next thing. Let's talk about Sister Alice attempting to resurrect Baby Charlie.
Okay.
Just because we have to. Was Baby Charlie cremated?
Don't know. I don't know where Baby Charlie is.
I thought he... Okay, doesn't matter. Casket's empty. The whole thing is a total disaster. She can't even get it open at first. She's speaking in tongues. Everybody is there ready to, crucify her, for lack of a better term. Perry Mason and everyone else is fighting to get as close as they can to the casket. And then once she opens it up and it's empty, and the one guy yells, "It's all lies!" then everyone in the crowd, for some reason, is like, well, let's just beat the shit out of each other.
It's Elder Brown, right? Who does the, "It's all lies!"
Yes.
Oh, he was just waiting. He got exactly what he wanted. Yeah.
As she's struggling to open it, he's like, yes, yes, good. And then all hell breaks loose. But I don't understand why everybody in Los Angeles is just down to beat each other's ass. Like, what is with the fist? So Perry literally is just trying to make his way back out of the crowd and get Emily and get her to a car. And random dudes are coming up like throwing haymakers at him.
Everybody's just so mad. They're just really mad.
Everybody's so pissed off, dude.
Yeah.
It's just been anger that's been ready to boil over as a result of just the entire situation in the United States, I guess.
And you got to think that anybody that would go to this graveyard to see this has an investment one way or the other. They either want to see her fail, or they're all in, they're buying it, they're here to see a resurrection.
Yeah.
And so when we open the casket and it's nothing but like there's like a stain in the casket, which is kind of weird. I don't know.
Did somebody take the baby?
Maybe.
I don't even want to know.
I don't know.
I just know he's empty. He's gone.
But it's
he's
empty.
Not in there.
It's empty. And so everybody, that just sends everybody into a tiff.
So at that point, Perry gets the crap beat out of him. He gets Emily out of there. The whole thing was he was trying to stop this attempt from even happening because he believes it totally destroys his case, right? He thinks if they attempt this resurrection, the jury is going to sentence Emily Dodson.
Yeah, I think that... Right. I think it's optics mostly.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's so intent on trying to bring this baby back through
makes her
means
seem guilty.
That don't seem real, makes her seem guilty. Yeah.
And as Sister Alice tells her, I'm claiming to be able to do something that hasn't been done in 2,000 years at a minimum. And it makes me wonder. So why do you think Sister Alice even attempts it?
I don't know.
Does she partially believe?
I don't know what's going on with Sister Alice.
Yeah.
I didn't totally understand the ending or I didn't know what she's running towards.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that right now.
I don't know.
As a result of failed resurrection, she gets to a car, and her mom, and she's almost in like a catatonic state, right? She's like very out of it. Her mom's trying to talk to her, and she's like, what? Her mom has already set up a fucking side story for if it failed.
Yes.
And it is, she tells him, the driver, turn right on Riverside or whatever. And he's like, shouldn't we follow the motorcycles? And she's like, do what I say. They turn right on Riverside, and lo and behold, a small white baby that looks like Charlie, sort of, has just been discovered by a crowd that has gathered. And then she tries to sell this off as, this is the miracle. This is Charlie Dodson, back from the dead. He wasn't in the casket. He was over here in the middle of the street on Riverside. And all these people are like, what? And you can tell it's like the crowd is sort of confused. They're like, I don't know, lady. You're just sounding a little fucking crazy. And then she's like, okay, well, we got to get Sister Alice over here. If Sister Alice starts yelling this shit, then everybody will be in. And Sister Alice takes one look at this kid and is like, nope, I'm done with the crazy mom games, and just full sprints down the street. At this point, what I took from that was like, this is a total and utter mental break. This is a woman who her entire life has lived under her mom's thumb, doing her bidding, doing not only illegal, but just morally, unquestionably shitty things on behalf of her mother. And she can't do this one. She's out. This was the last straw. She sprints down the street and leaves her mother holding this strange child, which, again, reminded me of that Angelina Jolie movie. What the frick?
Changeling?
Changeling, thank you. Because in L.A., I guess in this period, there was a lot of babies being switched and swapped and sold and adopted under false pretenses and crazy shit like that.
Right.
But, yeah, so I don't know where Sister Alice goes from here in terms of the story. Like, is she... Because how do we wrap up her storyline? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is she going to come back and, like, damn everybody, like, be some kind of evidence to the church's crookedness and messed upness?
Maybe.
It just seems very... Does she get to Perry and somehow give him something he can use as well? Because it seems like several people are going to have to break toward giving Perry stuff he can use in this final episode for things to get turned around, right? Strickland, perhaps. Sister Alice, perhaps. Drake, we saw come through in the penultimate. Anyway, I'm just curious to see where this... Because Sister Alice was literally... That was a 50% focus of this season, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 50-50 between Perry and Sister Alice and everything going on at the church. They have to close it in a way that makes all that make sense. I'm just looking forward to seeing what that is because, as you said, there's not much to take away from the full sprint down Riverside Road or whatever at the end other than that clearly she wants nothing to do with her mother and this fucking lie anymore.
Right. Yeah. Now, that doesn't change the fact that the vision to go resurrect the baby was her idea in the first place. It's not like that part of the scheme was...
Hatched by her mother.
Hatched by her mom. So her mom is kind of like, here on the back end, tying up a loose end and kind of, she's got the plan B ready to go to make this look better. And then Alice, she breaks,
like, nah.
and makes a run for it. So yeah, I don't know, but I really, really liked this episode as a whole. I was appreciative of the fact that they kind of wrapped it all up for us, the case-wise.
Right.
We now have all the puzzle pieces, basically.
Yep.
Unless there's some other wild card that Alice is going to kind of inject here at the very end.
Another twist.
And one last twist. But, yeah, I thought the performances were really strong, and just, as always with the show, visuals are incredible. The mayhem in the graveyard, although strange, was really frenetic and had crazy energy.
A lot of anxiety during this episode. Yeah, this shit was wild.
So I'm enjoying Perry's turns in the courtroom. So it's been good.
Last thing, when he's in the whorehouse investigating, Perry Mason is discovers the whole scheme that he needs. And then these guys bust in and are like, you're a cop. Or I don't know. Then they pound on this dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like he probably gets punched in the face, kicked in the stomach, and punched in the stomach like roughly 100 times in like a minute and a half. I was like, oh, he's gonna die or something. Like this was a savage beating to the point that like I'm not sure you wouldn't just be immediately hospitalized. Officer Drake comes up, clubs the guy who's about to chain him to death. I guess was what was about to happen there. I guess in general, these heroin whorehouses, they don't want anybody getting out with their business, so they've got dudes who are there to pound.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the enforcement. You know, you gotta have it when you're running an establishment such as that one.
I guess so. Thankfully, Officer Drake comes through with the billy club and knocks this dude with the chain out, and then like immediately drops a joke on Perry, like tell me about your way of doing things again or whatever. And I'm like, dude, he's dying. Like, but obviously he's fine. It looks like in the noir period you could take a hell of a beating. It's like a John Wayne movie, man. Like this guy got hit so many times by like 15 different people on his way out. Got to commend them on how real, and again, you said frenetic, how frenetic the energy was throughout the course of the episode, how real they made the fight scenes look, like the beatings he was taking. I was like, dude. And this is after he got the crap kicked out of him in the graveyard and is having to throw down with a bunch of random psycho Los Angeles citizens. It was just wild. I felt every single punch. And then when they chunk him out the door, like that looked so real. That was the most. We've seen dudes be thrown out of bars, stores, all manner of things in movies and TV shows all over the place. That was maybe the best one I've ever seen executed. He's got real air underneath him. He lands hard, and you feel that. And then the dude follows him out with a chain. It's just all around, very impressive episode. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait for the finale. Don't know how this ends. I'm assuming this is something that they're gonna go another season with based on the setup.
With this storyline?
No, it'll be a different story for each season, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely think that the case of Charlie Dodson will be
wrapped completely up.
Yeah. Indeed.
And there's your penultimate Perry Mason. On to top 5 Denzel Washington movies.
Oh my.
How difficult was this for you?
Not too different. Not all that difficult. Ross, the thing that I've been really kind of noticing as we go back and we do these top 5s is that as much knowledge of film as I have, it's a stretch to really call myself like a true film buff. There's just too much that I haven't seen. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
when you scroll through a Denzel Washington list, there's a lot there. There's a lot of movies to keep up with, man.
There are quite a few, and so there are certainly ones. I think this one was easy because there are. I go through this list, and although there are movies that I know I should have seen that I haven't, like Fences and like Flight, the ones that stand out to me very loud, very clear. So for that, those are I see these movies and I'm like, not only are they just such Denzel movies, but they're also awesome movies, rewatchable movies. Just they've got a good Denzel movie has a lot of Denzel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the thing about them.
My number 1 is like nowhere near the top of any of the lists I checked. I thought it would be closer to the top I'm just like a little surprised. So when we get to that, we'll get to that. But you want to start with your 5?
Well, first, were there any that you wanted to mention that did not make your list?
Yes, quite a few. It turns out I've seen a hell of a lot of Denzel Washington movies. He's been in a lot of stuff. But Glory is a great movie that didn't make my list. It's too many... his character's great. The movie is great. It's a Civil War movie. It's just I don't really look at that. Like you just said, a Denzel Washington movie has a lot of Denzel. He doesn't carry that the way he carries a lot of the other shit on my list. Like where he is the guy. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen The Book of Eli?
I have.
Okay, I just wanted to take a second to poop on that. That's not a good movie. That's not a good movie. The premise is ass, and then like. On a lot of these lists, my number 1 is ranked behind that piece of shit, which really upset me. And again, I'm teasing y'all.
It ranks behind?
As in, like, people thought my number 1 was worse than The Book of Eli.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, now I am just.
We'll do another Leo thing. Now I have your attention.
Thrilled to hear what that movie is. Wait, actually no, I know what it is.
What is
now,
it?
And
Yeah,
I know,
you know.
Yeah, now I know. What
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, of course.
The Bone Collector.
Awesome movie.
Great movie. Not on my top 5.
There's also in several of our top 5s, I have included movies that some would say are not that great, but that are a lot of fun.
And personal favorites.
So the one that you just mentioned that's going to be close to the top of both of our lists, if not at the very top of it, is one that kind of fits that narrative. But really, the type that I'm thinking of are like The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
Safe House,
Yeah.
Two Guns, The Equalizer,
Inside Man.
Deja Vu.
Deja Vu was solid. That's a solid little movie, but not a top 5 Denzel movie.
Yeah. So I didn't. There's the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 is the train one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's a dope movie too, man.
Antoine Fisher.
There are a lot of good kind of like of those kind of 2000 style action movies that Denzel did that are fun to watch, but just his others are stronger.
The Hurricane. Did you ever watch The Hurricane?
The Hurricane.
Great movie. Not in my top 5.
Yeah.
Just because I'm more like, basically my top 5 Denzel movies are the ones I've rewatched the most, out of enjoying them so much that I felt they needed to be rewatched.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to go 5?
Yeah, my number 5 is Remember the Titans.
Same.
It feels like it has to be on the list out of respect for the movie.
I agree.
How many times I've watched it, how it's one of my favorite sports movies ever. It's just an iconic role that was like in the heart of our high school experience, where like a high school football movie like that really fucking hit home. And he crushes it. I just can't put it above the other 4 on my list, so it has to be 5. But what a great movie. When's the last time you hit and watched some Remember the Titans?
It's been a while.
Yeah, for me too.
It's not a movie. I'm with you. It's on my list out of respect. It's a fantastic movie. If somebody made me sit down and watch it, I would enjoy it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's a feel-good movie. It's a tale about our history. It includes a lot of the pieces of our nation's past with racism in the era, and it's got a lot of good stuff to it. It's just not. It's not a movie that I like, that I find myself wanting to watch.
Sure.
So
I mean, it's a long, it's a long ass movie about high school football and race.
yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
But it's my number 5.
Okay. What's your number 4? You want me to go on 4?
Yeah.
Okay. My number
This
4
is
is
where it gets difficult.
my
for
number
me.
4 is American Gangster.
Okay. See, I just literally bumped that.
Off of your top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just a great film. 2 powerhouse performances, man. It's always it's fun when, like, we talked about the Chris Evans Ryan Gosling film that's coming to Netflix,
Yeah.
the spy thriller.
Yeah.
It's going to be Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling, I imagine, kind of going at each other, right?
Right.
That's always a great plot. So when you put Russell Crowe and you put Denzel Washington, and the movie is about them like trying to get one another, that's you're ready for fireworks. It's also like a kind of a scary Denzel performance.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
so
spaz,
good. He's
dude.
so good in the role, so scary, and I don't feel like Denzel gets to play. Well, when you think of Denzel, you think of a good guy. I feel like.
Well, that was always the joke about Training Day, obviously, that like he had to go. I think it was a Jadakiss song where he makes a reference to the fact that Denzel had to play a crooked cop to win an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And he says something else about Halle Berry that I won't repeat. But, yeah, you typically think of him as, like, your all-American, badass, good guy, sort of. Like, in my number 1, that's certainly the role he plays.
Yeah. So what you got for 4?
So I bumped American Gangster out of there, and I'll give you my why first. This was going to be my 4, and I put in Flight. American Gangster had so much hype for me that when I saw it, it didn't live up to it. And it just never recovered from that initial, like, I thought we were looking at the next Scarface movie, okay? Mm-hmm. And in fairness, it's probably better than I give it credit for because of that, and because I've only watched it a few times, okay? None of which were in the last 5 years, and I'm betting it has aged well based on what I remember of the movie. The only thing that probably hasn't is T.I. and his performance.
Yeah.
But all in all, yeah, it is a pretty horrifying, like, there's so many good, badass, incredibly memorable scenes in that movie. Like, when he finally puts on the mink coat that his wife got him, and he finally is like, fuck it, I'll ball out and break my own rule, goes to the boxing match, immediately it backfires. He goes home and burns the, like, $20,000 mink coat or whatever. There's just the part where he straight up goes outside and broad daylight executes the dude from The Wire, and then puts a tip in a jar or whatever next to his corpse and just walks off, is the closest thing to, like, what didn't Trump say he could murder somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue?
Fifth Avenue?
That was like the only closest thing I could compare that to in a movie was Denzel doing that dude in American Gangster.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes American Gangster super, super, super memorable to me is Jay-Z doing an entire album as
also that.
Sort of tribute to it.
Look, I'm not going to lie. That definitely is part of the reason why this movie stands out to me, I think.
And it's part of the reason it was just my number 4 and that I bumped it the last second. I love that album, man.
Man, I know we're already into our lists, but where we lack in the movies that we've seen also is always the same time period, and it's just because of our age.
Yeah, it's an age problem.
We missed a lot of these movies from these actors that are in the range of Denzel, but like his 90s run was incredible, and I just haven't seen these films. I've never seen Malcolm X. I've never seen The Pelican Brief. I've never seen Philadelphia. I've never seen Crimson Tide. I've never seen Courage Under Fire.
See, I've seen a bunch of them.
So, like,
haven't seen Malcolm X.
So those movies probably, at least one of them probably belongs on this list.
Yeah, well, that's always, dude. We can't watch every movie from every actor. It's impossible.
And so mine, at least, always just skew more towards the 2000s and beyond. And I know that. So and it's just a blind spot for me.
That's why I'm throwing Flight in there. It's more of a recency bias. It's just a great performance and an incredibly crazy, like, it's just a cool story, dude. And the guy's like, the first 20 minutes of that movie alone, you're like, holy shit, just locks you in. Big fun. So Flight is my number 4. What's your 4?
American Gangster was my 4.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
My 3 is Inside Man.
No shit.
Yeah, that's an awesome movie.
It's highly underrated. Yeah. I will say that about Inside Man. I went back and watched this one within the last few years. It's just a badass bank robbery, twisty, turny.
Yes.
Like, I can't even remember off the top of my head right now exactly what the twist was. I might go watch it again tonight.
There's an inside man, Bros.
I know there's an inside man, but I don't remember who the inside man is or how we find out he's inside.
I'm pretty sure there's a second twist as well. There's a couple of twists. It's great.
Did you see the sequel, The Man Inside Me?
I did not. No. Yeah, but I think dozens of people did. Again,
imagine having never watched Arrested Development and listening to this podcast. Like, you just have no idea what's going on 6% of the time.
Here's what you need to know about this movie. Directed by Spike Lee, stars Denzel Washington, Clive Owen, Jodie Foster, Christopher Plummer, and Willem Dafoe and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Like,
it is a very sick movie.
It's a banger. I'm a sucker for a heist movie. Like you telling me about the bank robbery one, the Cherry movie coming from the Russo brothers as well. Now I'm not sure which I'm more excited for, Cherry or The Gray Man.
Fucking Cherry.
So
great names for their movies, the Russo brothers.
Yeah. And like you said, this one I think has aged very well. I don't think it wasn't. I feel like it had middling or mixed reviews when it came out.
So it came out in 2006, and it just had that. It had that like cheesy action movie feel to the trailer, especially. And I feel like a lot of people just sort of wrote it off as a silly action movie. But it's really well executed and well acted.
I feel like it's kind of aged well and is now considered
to be a good one.
It's a great heist film.
Like you said, Denzel Washington, Clive Owen, Jodie Foster, Christopher Plummer, and it's directed by Spike Lee. It's like, that's a good little run right there.
Yeah.
Of people to be in a movie. My number 3 is Philadelphia. I've seen this movie a couple times. It is just an incredibly powerful and moving performance from both Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington. It's where he represents a dying gay man with AIDS. And it's nuts. And it was like one of the I watched this when I was younger, and it was one of the first very powerful dramatic movies that was like out of my element. Let me put it that way, like out of my little white bubble that I lived in up until that age or whatever. Mm-hmm. That I was like, God damn, this is fucking real, like very real movie, and just an incredible all around film. Both the dudes, and that's the one that in mine I'll say is like. I think Denzel is the man in every other movie except for Philadelphia. He shares that with Tom Hanks, obviously, and he's not the man. It's just his performance in the movie is so classic and good at this point that I had to put it at number 3.
Yeah.
What's your 3?
My 3 was Inside Man.
Oh,
but
I'm always one behind you mentally.
This leaves only 2 movies, which will be our numbers 1 and 2, and it sounds like we have them flip-flopped.
Let's see.
So which would you like to talk about first, Training Day or Man on Fire?
Oh, man, we really have the same 1 and 2. That is some fucking shit. What'd you put as 1?
So I've got Training Day as my number 1.
I've got Man on Fire. See, we did good.
Right.
We got differences. Because it's the Denzel Washington movie I have watched the most times. And fucking Training Day is right behind it. It's just that Training Day is such a beating.
It is.
The whole time. Like, you're just like, good God. It's also very clear as to why he won his Academy Award for that performance. He's terrifying. One of the more memorable, incredible bad guy performances ever, dude. Everything he does, you're like, oh my God, fuck this guy. I need him to die. And then by the time you're actually watching him die, you're just like, wow, what a powerful piece of shit that guy was. Yeah. King Kong ain't got shit on me. There's just so many lines from that movie,
it's
dude.
Iconic.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Training Day is that it's iconic. The lines, the plot, like that role for Denzel.
Plot, badass storyline, just a great original idea for a movie. And it's literally the course of for those of you who have never seen it, sorry, first of all, spoiler alert. It's the course of a day of a cop being transferred into a new division, and the dude he's put under, or his partner, is crooked as hell and is played by Denzel. And then over the course of that day, everything that unfolds. And that day, it is a wild one, his training day. At one point, Denzel has him smoking PCP. It's so iconic that it made it into Dave Chappelle show skits and shit. Like... Yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievably good. It's like it could have flipped either way, man. I could have put Training Day as my number 1. I could have put Man on Fire as my number 1. Man on Fire is just a movie that happened to strike me in such a way that it's one of my all-time favorite films, dude. Like, it's relatively simple and straightforward. It's kind of over-edited. Like, there's too much of like the and then they're like flashing around the screen. It's like, dude, just leave the screen still. Why are you fucking? The dude, what's his name that directed it? Oh my God,
Tony Scott.
So disrespectful. Is he the late one? Is he still alive?
I think he is the late
brother of the two. Yep, he died in 2012.
Yeah.
So he did Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, True Romance, Crimson Tide, Enemy of the State, Man on Fire, Deja Vu. He liked Denzel, it appears. I just love that fucking movie, man. It just, everything about it stuck with me. The way he's like willing to sacrifice the whole movie is this man who is broken finding a reason to live again in the form of a little girl, and she's unbelievable in it as well. And then the ensuing chaos of him trying to save her life.
This is also just one of those moments where, like, I do feel like critics have gotten better about this, actually. But listen to the discrepancy here from Rotten Tomatoes: 39% on the tomato meter, 89% audience score.
Yeah,
like critics just didn't. They clearly watched this movie and picked it apart for, I don't know, narrative flaws, rather than just allowing this movie to wash over you and enjoying it because it's an enjoyable film. And I feel like they're a little bit better about that these days. Maybe it's because we get so many superhero films. That
I was going to say, it feels like The Avengers is a big reason for this.
It's like you have to just, at some point you have to say, was this movie fun to watch? Like, did it have like a good story? Did I enjoy my time? rather than just saying, oh, well, that piece of the plot didn't really make sense. And like, oh, do they really need to make it so just, you know what I'm talking about?
Dude, it's the whole movie's just him going around executing bad dudes in tight ways.
Right. And what's not to like about that? Like, is it kind of some revenge porn? Sure, but that's okay every once in a while, I think.
It's like John Wickish pre-John Wick.
Yes, exactly. A film that has fantastic reviews, I will say.
Yeah.
Like, again, like I think in a lot of ways, I do think that critics have gotten better about recognizing when a film is good because it's fun to watch and enjoyable.
I wish you had more time.
And like you said, and that's the thing. Man on Fire, it doesn't give you everything you want, right? It doesn't have a super happy ending.
No.
Like, it doesn't end roses for everybody.
No, it doesn't.
And so I don't know whether I guess maybe you could say that it's emotionally manipulative at the end, but that's what movies are in general. Yeah. And I think it makes it adds stakes to it, right?
Yes.
Like it makes it puts higher stakes on the story itself and on the plot. And it's an awesome Denzel action movie that is really kind of touching in a lot of ways and has some incredible sequences.
God, Training Day has such good lines, dude. You want to go to jail or you want to go home? But then, okay, so I'm looking through Man on Fire. And John Creasy is the name of his character.
Creasy.
The little girl calls him Creasy Bear, or has Creasy Bear. I can't remember, whatever. This is just, it is revenge porn. But it's Denzel executing revenge porn in an oversized suit. and at a very high degree that's just unbelievable. Here's one of his lines. Forgiveness is between them and God. I'm just here to set up the meeting. My job is to set up the meeting. And that's like one of those cheesy lines that I can see critics being like, eh. But when it's delivered by Denzel and then it's followed by him like literally murdering everybody. Oh, also Rayburn, who is played by, who's his boy played by? This Christopher Walken. Rayburn says at one point, where is this line? I have to find it. A man can be an artist in anything, food, whatever. It depends on how good he is at it. Creasy's art is death. He's about to paint his masterpiece. And then he just goes and murders. The rest of the movie is him just offing people. It's just phenomenal. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And I wish we had more time, but we don't. I'm going to yell out all the good Denzel movies we didn't put on our lists again real quick, though, just so we don't upset people. Crimson Tide, The Hurricane, Glory, The Bone Collector, Antoine Fisher, Fences. Haven't seen Fences yet. Need to watch it. Manchurian Candidate, Malcolm X. There's 100 more. Denzel, one of the more talented, storied. He's already been honored. I can't remember if it was Golden Globes or Academy Awards for a Lifetime Achievement Award at this point. The dude's a legend, walking, living legend. Hopefully we get some more good stuff from him before the end of his career. Yep. Dude, see, that's from the era where, like, we were too young to fully enjoy movies like that yet, but we were aware of those movies. I just don't recall a lot of them or didn't get to see them.
Yeah.
One or the other. God, he's done so many fucking movies, though.
Did you see Two Guns with Mark Wahlberg? I haven't seen that either.
Yes, I did.
How was that?
It wasn't good. It wasn't very good.
The Equalizer. Yeah, I mean,
The Great Debaters.
The Great Debaters. Yeah. It is a long list.
Man, he's done a fuckload of movies.
And
Safe House.
Safe House, not that great. Ryan Reynolds.
A lot of them are the same, like The Siege, The Pelican Brief, The Taking of Pelham 123, The Preacher's Wife, The Equalizer. He's in a lot of these, you know? Yeah, you know.
So, yeah, maybe more than any, this is the one that like has made me feel, more than any of our top fives, this is the one that has made me feel like, man, I really got to brush up on my Denzel.
Oh God, I've felt way worse on others that we've done.
Really?
Way worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
See.
For some reason, I've seen a comfortable amount of Denzel movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that will do it for today's episode of OCC. Huge thanks to our sponsor, Leesa. Go to Leesa, Leesa.com/dragon. Get 15% off any mattress from Leesa. They are all unbelievable. No matter which one you pick, you cannot make a wrong choice. Get a pillow and a blanket while you're there. You can also support OCC directly in exchange for 3 or 4 exclusive ad-free episodes in the course of a month by going to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. That's patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Minimum pledge of $5 to join the Crustacean Nation and receive 3 additional ad-free premium episodes of this podcast every month. Or you can join the Mollusk Militia for a minimum donation of $10 and receive 4 exclusive ad-free premium episodes each month. The 4th of which is your Mollusk Militia exclusive hotline call extravaganza, driven by your exclusive hotline, where only members of the Mollusk Militia have the number and can call it, and then, of course, can listen to the episode and hear Barrett and I's responses. You can call in about anything. That's the beauty of the Mollusk Militia hotline extravaganza. Anything. You can call in and roast us for our Denzel top 5 if you completely disagreed with it. You can bring up Perry Mason takes, The Great, anything we've watched this year, last year, or over the course of your life. It doesn't matter, Mollusk Militia. Get in there. Patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles to support the show and get mo. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Oysters, Clams, Cockles, on Twitter at Clams and Cockles, and Facebook.com/Oysters, Clams, Cockles. I'm Ross Bolin, and you can follow me at WRBolin, at WRBOLEN, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Check me out on twitch.tv/BossRollin. It's Ross Bolin with the B and the R reversed, playing Warzone a lot of nights of the week. And listen to the Ross Bolin podcast wherever you listen to OCC. Mr. Dudley, where can we follow you and hear more of your voice?
Oh, let's see here. Social mediums at Barrett Dudley, Instagram and Twitter. And then check me out on the Club Cool podcast, available wherever you get oysters, clams, and cockles, where we meet at the intersection of style and pop culture. Last week, we did a large segment on bags.
Oh.
Just bags. So we just talked about like grocery store bags and like shopping bags and
just all bags.
And like Austin Powers, like that's
not
wasn't his
my bag,
baby.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. It was about like
handbags,
travel bags and stuff,
and travel bags,
that type of thing.
Were there any Merces?
We did not cover a Merce. We did not include Merces in our essential bags to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go check it out. Check it out.
Club Cool available wherever OCC is available, as well as the Ross Bolin podcast. Until our next helping, goodbye, friends.